Hello and welcome to a SmiteWorks Fantasy Grounds sneak peek preview of the Dungeons & Dragons 2024 rules and how they're going to look within Fantasy Grounds with the new theme, with the Player's Handbook content, and with the 2024 D&D free rules module that's going to be shipped with all of our licenses as well. So this is kind of a new look and feel theme here. It'll show up under your extensions when you go to load a campaign. You can select the theme, Dungeons & Dragons. And this would be if you purchase the Player's Handbook 2024 when that releases on September 17th. So you'll see it's got a kind of tie-ins to the various graphics from the book and lots of cool kind of styling. I think it really just captures the look and feel just perfectly so far. So that's this screen. And then you've got, today we're going to go into the NPCs. And we're going to look a little bit into NPCs and what the differences are between the what we call the legacy content now, how that's going to look if you have older content mixed in with newer content. And so now I've got a couple different things loaded here. If I go to my module screen, you'll see I've got the 5e SRD Bestiary, the Monster Manual, the Player's Handbook. These are both from the earlier edition of Dungeons & Dragons, commonly just known as 5e. And then we have the Dungeons & Dragons free rules, which are the 2024 new free rules that are coming out, along with the Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook. And you'll see that they share a lot of commonality amongst them. That's typically because the Dungeons & Dragons free rules has a subset of the data that's within the Player's Handbook, just oftentimes without the images and without as many options under each one of those various categories. So without further ado, let's kind of dive in and just focus on some of the NPCs. So right now I'm going to pull up maybe the new, actually I'll pull up the SRD first. So this is going to pull up how it looks if you have the SRD module. So this is the old version. So you have your ability scores along the top here with your checks and your saving throws that you can roll. If it has an image, like these are images that we ship with ours because it's the SRD content. This same exact module, if I do a search on ape, for instance, let me go to all. So I've got the Monster Manual version of the ape, which just has the letter token A because they didn't ship the Monster Manual. If you have the old version of Dungeons & Dragons, does not actually have an image. If you look at the new free rules, you'll see that the free rules has a little bit of a different look and feel. So let me show these records kind of side by side. You'll see we also use the letter token because these are the free rules in this particular case, but they're not the SRD. So we can't link them to the images that we created. These are the AI generated images here. So we have just a straight letter token that you can use to represent those. On the notes tab, you'll see this is how it looks in the in the Dungeons & Dragons 2024 free rules. It'll be written out with the strength and the dex, wisdom, constitution, and charisma with a mod and a saving throw. In this particular case, they're almost always the same, but that's not always going to be true in the future. So just be aware that that is something that's going to change. These are the display text version of this sort of thing. And then you have the actionable version down here. So just like before, like this is the old version where you could then click and roll the dice. Now you can do the same sort of thing. It works almost the same way as it did previously. It's just things are moved around a little bit differently. So you'll notice the ability scores is the biggest change here. The initiative pops up into the upper right-hand corner. It's still a medium beast unaligned. In this case, it still has the same armor class and hit points and the speed as it did before. Sometimes there are some changes depending on which particular creature that you're looking for. Here it has the same thing. It has its traits and actions which show up below, along with if it has legendary actions, that'll show up as well. You'll notice that it has a little bit different. This does a little bit more damage, 1d6 plus 3 versus now it's 1d4 plus 3. You also notice that when we roll the dice here that it's picking up a different die. That's because I happen to have installed on my machine the dice pack which has creature dice on it, and so we can automatically determine that this is a beast, and the beast is going to roll a different die than, say, something else. Similarly, if you roll bludgeoning damage, it's just going to roll whatever dice I have selected here, unless you customize the dice that's going to be rolled for your bludgeoning damage. So this is an ape, and then let's look at a few other different characters here too. We've got some summon characters that we can look at. So let's go back to here, and let's look for Aberrant, for instance. So the Aberrant, again, we have the free rules version, which will just have the letter token A. And then we have the Beholderkin actually has an image. The Mind Flayer one does not come with an image. There's no image in the rulebook for this particular creature, and there's not an image for it yet. If we ever do receive one of those from Wizards of the Coast, we will, of course, plug those in and make images for you that you can use. So this will basically represent this character. If you want to share this with your players, you can do share picture. If you're in 2.5D view, then you'll see this image of the monster kind of floating, and then this is going to be for the top down. I'll show that later on a couple other examples of the various tokens. One thing you'll notice is that within the player's handbook, a lot of these basic NPCs now come with images for the 2.5D and the top-down view, which is a nice improvement of the way it used to be in some of those basic monsters within the monster manual. So we'll go into some more depth here. But if we look at this one, this is basically the same exact rules. The difference between this is the paid version that comes with the player's handbook. This is the free version essentially. So they've got the same stats. You can use the free version just as well as you could the other one. You'll notice here that there's also a ranged attack, and it has like some code in here. So if you want to look at the by the book, you would look at this page, the notes tab, and you can just kind of read and see that what it was going to do. But because it's a summoned creature, if I look back at the notes here, it says the armor class is actually 11 plus the spells level, and then here it's hit points are 40 plus 10 for each spell level above 4. So if I go back into the summoned creature here, if I unlock this, here you can say, okay, well, I'm going to make it, the spell level is going to be, say, 8, and you'll see that now the hit points are 80 and the armor class is improved. So both of those things improve because we have this little chart here which says it's a summoned creature and the current spell level is blank. You can also override the spell attack and DC, all that sort of stuff as well. And then here is the base AC plus 1 per spell level, or the summon HP is the base plus 10 for each spell level above X. And normally that's, if this is a 4th level spell to cast this, it's normally that is what's going to be stored in that value. The skills, vulnerabilities, resistances, those are all similar. Let me pull up an other class. Let's see. Let's go back to, clear this out. We'll grab a monster manual. Let's just pull up the Aarakocra, for example. You'll see that this has skills. Let me actually make a copy of the Aarakocra so I can edit that. There we go. So now I can unlock it and show you what that looks like. So you see they had size, type, and alignment, whereas now we have size, type, alignment. That's the same. Armor class. Again, unless you're a summoned creature, then you have this kind of non-editable version because it's going to be based off of the summoned stats. But if this is not an editable, not a summoned creature, then you would then basically be able to edit that the same way you can, normal NPCs. This is all basically the same. Here it gets into a little bit of differences. So the saving throws are not called out separately here, but instead you have skills shows up the same, and then instead of having damage, vulnerabilities, and resistance and immunization, they're just basically vulnerabilities, resistances, and immunity. So it's a little bit different, and you'll see again here, this is how it's written on the stat block. So those stat blocks will now get brought into here, and then you're kind of good to go from that perspective. You've got your actions are basically almost the same as before. No real changes there. It'll recognize kind of common sort of NPC language as well, so you can type it in. If you know exactly that it's going to be a +4 to hit, it'll still recognize that, and it'll still highlight it for you when you hover over that when you want to roll the damage, basically. And then basically the pictures thing is the same. You'll see at the bottom that there's this version, and the version says 2024. So if you want to create a new NPC record, there's a couple things that'll happen there, but you can always change this and say I want to look at the legacy version, or I want to look at it as a legacy creature. So if you prefer this look to the other look, you can obviously use that here, and you can toggle back and forth and then show which one you want to show, basically. If you want all of your new creations to automatically use either the legacy version or the 2024 version, then under your campaign options, there's going to be under game, if I scroll down to game here, you'll see there's a game. What base record version do you want to use? Do you want to use 2024 or legacy? So if I have legacy selected and I'm on NPCs and I create a new NPC record, the default is going to assume that I want to use a legacy style stat block and NPC window. And then if I was to switch this to be a, where did I go? Oops, I actually shrunk it. So if I want to switch it to use the 2024 rules, then now when I create a new NPC record, it'll automatically assume that I'm using the new version 2024. It has the summon option here. It has the slightly different ability score layout, and it has the different settings here as well. Now, just like before, you also have the same option to display the characters in 2.5D view. So here you'll see I've got a couple of different monsters. I've got a giant seahorse, a camel, black bear, and crocodile and elephant mixed in with my stuff. So these are all NPCs that come with the player's handbook. And if I was to say open the map with these on there, you'll see these are the new tokens that they come with. So it's nice that those ship automatically with the player's handbook, not with the free rules. Again, if you're using the free rules, you'll see like a letter E and a letter S or G, I guess. Whatever the first letter of the character is what you will see in the system. And then if I wanted to say, like, let's look from her perspective and then look at the token view, you'll see that now they will show up. So they will automatically scale based off of their size. And yeah, so you've got some giant seahorses, some camels, some bears, and a crocodile there. So yep, that's the NPCs in a nutshell.